Hi guys, so this is the, sorry I'm still sick. This is the video lecture for last Thursday's class, all the stuff we didn't get through. So I'm hoping to get through sentence structure and variation, sentence types, paragraph structure, word economy, and then the analysis of Libra and the Sun Also Rises will probably be in a separate lecture. Okay, so let's just jump into this. So sentence structure and variation. If you have gotten stuff back from me yet already, if not, you'll get stuff back from me tomorrow. And one of the big things that I commented a lot on was sentence structure variation. So why vary sentence structure and length? So you vary the structure of your sentence, you vary the openings to your sentence, and you vary the lengths of your sentences. And the reason you do that is because this creates a rhythm in writing. If you have several short sentences or several long sentences in a row, it becomes monotonous. There are times when you want to do this, but for the most part, you want to have a rhythm. You want to have a combination of short versus long sentences. And I'm going to show you kind of the very basic. So this is just a random paragraph from my second novel. So here you see there's a long sentence, then a short sentence, then another short sentence, then a long sentence, then a short sentence, then a longer one, then a short one, then a longer one. So this is kind of the very basic variation. This is kind of what you want to strive for when you're telling your story. However, there are times when you want to use longer sentences, several longer sentences in a row, or several shorter sentences in a row. We often use longer sentences when we are describing imagery, sometimes action, and longer sentences create a sense of, typically you do this with imagery or any kind of description. Longer sentences typically create a sense of easiness, a sense of peacefulness in the reader. Shorter sentences, on the other hand, several shorter sentences in a row create a sense of anxiety in the reader. Like, it can physically make the reader feel anxious. So, when you're describing something very tense, or if you're building up to something very tense, or something that's very action-packed, we often tell those in very short sentences. So you need to be aware of all of these. You need to be aware of kind of the standard rhythm of alternating short and long sentences, when to use longer sentences and when to use shorter sentences. And you also need to vary your sentence openings. So often I see, just subject, predicate. I went for a run. I went to the grocery store. I was tired. You need to vary the structure of your sentences. Okay? Alright, so here's an example. So this is before. This is based off of my first novel. Anna and I come to the end of our lives together as we hurtle along a haunted stretch of forested road near Gettysburg. She says the only way we can save the past and the future is to destroy the present. She doesn't think we can be together any longer if my beliefs don't find a way of aligning with hers. My foot slides harder on the accelerator. I light a cigarette and watch the world rush past in a wash of blurry hues and fleeting specks. So every one of these sentences is around the same length, and they all start with the subject and end with the predicate. Alright, so here is the revised version. On a haunted stretch of forested road near Gettysburg, Anna and I come to the end of our lives together, and she says the only way we can save the past and the future is to destroy the present. So here, the first sentence, we flipped the predicate and the subject, and then we combined it with the next sentence. She doesn't think we can be together any longer if my beliefs don't find a way of aligning with hers. Alright, so that's the same. My foot slides harder on the accelerator, and I light a cigarette as the world rushes past in a wash of blurry hues and fleeting specks. So here we can just combine the next two sentences. So we have this long sentence, shorter, longer sentence structure. Sentence types, I don't want you to really, you don't need to really know this. You just need to know that you need to you need to create rhythm in your writing by creating variation. So simple sentence, compound sentence, complex compound. This is all stuff that you learned, in middle school or elementary school. So I'm not going to go through this right now. Avoiding similar patterns. So again, the room fell silent when footage of the terrorist attack was played on the news. When the footage of the terrorist attack was shown on the news, the room fell silent. So literally, to vary the structure of your sentence, you just take the subject and you move it to another part of the sentence. That's really it. It's really not difficult, but it's something that you guys have not been in the practice of. And you may need to add transitional words or phrases to the beginning of the sentence to make it clearer. Okay. Paragraph structure. You can open up to any book and look at the lengths of the paragraphs and the density of the prose and get an idea of what the story is going to be like. You can see if a story has a lot of dialogue, if there's a lot of short paragraphs, if there are longer paragraphs, if there's a juxtaposition of longer and short paragraphs. So you also want to vary the paragraph structure and length, like you do for the sentences. You don't want to have a series of very short paragraphs or a series of very long paragraphs. You want to create rhythm. You want to manipulate the white space on the page. We can look at this, which is going to come later, but I don't know if you can see this based on where my camera is, but there's two paragraphs that are about the same length. Then we have a really long one, then a short one, then another really long one. Okay. Word economy. So cutting unnecessary words, you need to cut everything that is not necessary. So cutting adjectives and adverbs, especially if they're boring, that's a good place to start. Cutting infinitives. Oh, I'm sorry. So, cutting passive voice. Every word should be absolutely necessary to convey the meaning of the piece of writing. So these are some, random examples. So I was running, you can cut to I ran. Okay. I started to cry. I've written on several papers that started, decided to, proceeded to, began. These are not important. What is important is the verb following it. We don't need to know that you started or began or proceeded to or decided to do anything. So I cried. I had come up with an idea. I had an idea. This is just wordiness. She could be seen standing next to a tree. Oops. I went too far. She stood next to a tree. This is just another example of wordiness. And here's a thought verb. I saw snow starting to fall. It snowed. It's snowing. You need to cut everything that's not absolutely necessary. Conciseness. Replace vague words with more powerful and specific words. Every word should have a purpose. Cut all that don't. Combine sentences. Cut words that explain the obvious. I see this a lot. Like, I blinked my eyes. What else are you going to blink? It's just, I blinked. Cut unnecessary determiners and modifiers. Cut repetitions. Cut redundant pairings and categories. Change passive voice to active voice. All of these things will make more sense after you see the feedback from me. And then kill your darlings. This is one of those rules of writing that every writing student is told multiple times, and it's basically just, it doesn't matter if you really like this sentence or really like this paragraph. If it doesn't fit with the rest of the piece, you need to cut it. And as hard as that may be, you need to do it. Alright, concision and cohesiveness, ultimate goals, use as few words as possible, yet detailed and specific while also maintaining meaning. And this will make more sense also at the end of the workshop. We're going to revise 2 paragraphs from Twilight, and this will make a lot more sense then. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop this video lecture here, and then the next one will be short. I'm just going to read you two passages, and we're going to discuss them.